Israel and Iran at war.
Iran fires missiles into Tel Aviv tonight, but the U.S. helps Israel intercept them.
It's retaliation for Israeli strikes that decapitated Iran's military and aimed to cripple its nuclear program.
President Trump warns Iran, make a deal before there's nothing left.
From CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News.
Good evening, I'm Maurice Dubois.
I'm John Dickerson.
Here's a picture now of Tel Aviv tonight. There is a new war in the Middle East. Israel decided it could wait no longer to take out the nuclear threat in Iran.
It launched airstrikes on Iranian nuclear and military targets, including the main nuclear enrichment facility in Natanz. The Israeli military said 200 fighter jets hit more than 100 targets. And this is just the beginning of the attacks.
The strikes took out nuclear scientists and military leaders, including General Mohammad Bagheri, who oversaw Iran's armed forces, and General Hossein Salami, head of the Revolutionary Guard.
Iran warned that the gates of hell will open and retaliated with 100 drones and dozens of ballistic missiles. The United States assisted Israel in trying to intercept them. We begin our coverage with Weijia Jiang at the White House. Weijia?
Well, the United States also insists it had nothing to do with Israel's military operation. But yes, it will continue to help defend Israel, whose prime minister says his military is ready to keep going.
Air raid sirens urged people to shelter in place as Israel's air defense system, assisted by the United States, tried to intercept the barrage of Iranian ballistic missiles. But at supersonic speed, some slipped past and hit their targets. Dozens were hurt in the retaliatory strike. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, said, "The Zionist regime has made a grave error, and the consequences of this will bring it to ruin." But Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed to continue the operation to incapacitate Iran's nuclear program.
More is on the way. The regime doesn't know what hit them. They don't know what will hit them.
Thursday night's attack by Israel was at least 8 months in the making. Israeli media reported commandos from Israel's intelligence service, the Mossad, built a drone base inside Iran and used it to strike surface-to-air missile launchers at a military base near Tehran, clearing the way for the Israeli bombing campaign. Mossad also released this video showing its soldiers on Iranian soil. Cell phone video captures the moment Israeli airstrikes hit the area around the Natanz nuclear plant, considered the regime's most significant enrichment facility. Netanyahu claimed it was destroyed. Israel had also identified the homes of some Iranian military leaders, killing them in their beds.
The Israelis are trying.
Andrew Boyd is a former CIA official.
The Israelis are releasing video of their operatives, video of their spy tactics. Is it typical to show your receipts so soon after an attack? Why would they do that?
They would only do it if those operatives were in a safe place and weren't going to be under threat from a retaliation from the Iranians or being found by the Iranians. I do think what they're trying to do is to further illustrate how the Iranian regime has lost control of their country, and the Iranian regime is no longer safe.
This morning, President Trump spoke to Netanyahu by phone and held a meeting in the Situation Room with the National Security Council. The administration insists the U.S. did not coordinate with Israel. Secretary of State and acting National Security Advisor Marco Rubio insisted Israel took unilateral action against Iran. "We are not involved in strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region."
President Trump says he knew the attack was in the works, but publicly he was urging Netanyahu to hold off so that the U.S. could continue negotiating an agreement to curb Iran's nuclear ambitions. Despite the conflict that is now raging, the White House claims talks scheduled with Tehran for Sunday are still on.
Weijia Jiang at the White House. Thank you.
One of the risks of this fighting between Israel and Iran is that it will spread to other countries in the Middle East.
And while the United States is supporting Israel, it is also working behind the scenes to try to prevent a wider war. Margaret Brennan in Washington has more about this. And so, Margaret, what's the risk of this becoming a wider war?
Well, Maurice, the U.S. is already warning that the consequences for Iran would be dire if any of its agents were to target U.S. citizens, American bases, or infrastructure in the Middle East. There are 40,000 military personnel in the region in countries like Kuwait, in Qatar, in Iraq. And there's this risk of miscalculation. You're already seeing today that the U.S. military stepped in to defend Israel from incoming Iranian missiles, despite the Israeli assessment that Iran is in a historically weak position following those attacks on its aerial defenses last year. In the past, many American presidents have worried that Israel would start a war it couldn't finish on its own without American help. Right now, Israel's prime minister is betting that the Iranian regime will buckle under pressure rather than go head-to-head in a conflict.
Margaret, if the U.S. is telling Iran, don't you dare do it, what else is the U.S. doing to try to stop a wider war?
Well, John, yesterday, Secretary of State Rubio called American allies in the region in advance of the Israeli strike, and sources told me Rubio's message was this is not an American-sanctioned operation, and President Trump wanted to use diplomacy to end wars, not start them. But these allies are also concerned that Israel may push the envelope and that Israeli strikes on these nuclear installations could cause radiation fallout, for example, that endangers other citizens in the region. Today, the UN nuclear watchdog warned that there is chemical contamination at one of the bombed sites and called for a proper response.
Face the Nation moderator Margaret Brennan. Thank you so much, Margaret.
The latest conflict in the Middle East is rattling financial markets all over the world. Stock prices fell today. Oil prices soared. Reason to call in CBS News Money Watch correspondent Kelly O'Grady. So, Kelly, what here is the reason for oil going up?
Simple economics. So Iran is a top 10 oil producer. It's also right next to the Strait of Hormuz. 30% of the world's oil goes through that strait. Supply and demand. Oil's traded on a global market. When anything impacts supply, whether that be a bomb going off or Iran saying no one can have access to the Strait of Hormuz, that impacts supply. Prices go up.
What about the impact on Americans here at home?
Think gas prices. I hope you're not driving anywhere this summer, Maurice. Go back. Summer of 2022 was above $5 a gallon. Why? Because oil, right there, it was above $100 a barrel. That was right after Russia attacked Ukraine. And so we're starting to see oil prices go up. And the fear is something similar is going to happen again because of this conflict.
Summer travel plans are one thing, but the wider impact, what about that?
Everything. Oil prices lead to higher inflation when they go up, and it's because they drive diesel prices. Trucks, everything that comes to delivery runs on diesel. Your groceries going to the grocery store. When diesel prices go up, so does inflation, and that's why we call it the canary in the coal mine.
Yep, affects everybody. All right, Kelly O'Grady, thanks so much.